Hi, everybody. Thanks for getting on to the 22-23 Tutor Training Zoom. I'll try to keep this, I don't want to say short, but hopefully sweet. I'll be 45 minutes or so is my guess. We can probably get through things quick, but there's some things I don't want to rush because I want you to be able to review this video for putting in information into EAB, Workday, those technical things. I want to make sure we cover everything so that somebody can go back and review it if they need to. So don't feel the need to memorize everything. You might take a couple of notes to things that you think are important, but you can always go back and watch this recording because I'll send it out to everybody afterwards. But yes, I'm appreciative of people being on here to be able to discuss things and answer questions, ask questions, answer questions, and provide some advice from returners. I don't know why. I hope the recording is getting me. For some reason, Carly is on my screen. Let me go back in and out. No, I still see Carly. So hopefully the recording's mostly getting me talking. We'll see. So, hey, a few things we'll cover. First, I'm going to show a video that shows you the location, where things are going to be done. I might pause it at points if I think of something I didn't say on the recording, but for the most part, it speaks for itself. And then we'll cover, like I said, EAB Navigate. I want to show you how to put in your availability, as well as Workday. I might have somebody pull up, somebody that's a returner pull up their Workday if they can, and show us how to input hours. Then at the end, we'll kind of cover just some tips and situations that might come up. I don't have anything really specific in mind. I might just mention a few common things I've said before, but some tutors might offer up some common issues that could come up that I might not even be aware of. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and let you guys watch my intro video. Hi tutors, this is hopefully a short video to orient you to the locations within the arena. Hey, before I get going, is everybody seeing the video? Did I share right?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, thanks, Carly. Unfortunately, we're starting out here, well, fortunately someday, with the construction going on at the Champions Center. We will have new study areas and new tutor rooms. It's going to be awesome, but we got to get through this whole year and a little bit of next fall probably of a real big mess. So things will change as the semester goes. I'll try to give you notice of the changes as I get them. So different doors may not be accessible, but as of now, the VIP entrance, which I'll show you in a second, is going to be the main entrance. If you are driving to do the tutoring, you'd be coming from the Olive Compton garage way over there. That's where I park too. So most of you, I believe, would be coming from the campus side and get here to the construction and the arena. As I said, parking, there's usually not parking for us in this lot, and definitely no parking in this lot while construction's happening. So you got to park in Olive Compton over there and then walk over, come down this walkway through the parking lot. I'm going to try to walk really fast to get through the boring parts. I'm heading towards the VIP entrance. Right now, there's a maze to get around this fence and to the VIP entrance, and that will change. It won't look anything like this in a week, and then 2 weeks, and then 4 weeks. So be prepared for anything. I'm gonna walk around, and it looks like, oh, you can get through. I thought it was blocked off. So here's the entrance into the construction zone. You want to be real careful, look both ways. You know how that works. There's Janet. Whenever I talk about Janet meetings, that's her. So cars will be coming through there. We are going to be coming through the VIP entrance. The entrance during the day is open, but I believe after 6 p.m. it will lock, and that's probably when most appointments are happening. So you'll need your student ID. Mine is in my wallet here. and you would scan it and make that beep turn green, and then you can open this door, which I will do. The door down there may become in use, so that pathway to another door. If this one ever gets shut off because they're taking out a stairwell, you might have to go that way. We'll make sure your key cards open that door as well when the time comes. We'll go through these double doors, come into the athletic department lobby. Brandy will likely not be here at night, but there's.
I'll note a couple things here real quick. Brandy's actually going to be relocated, so she definitely won't be there. They're going to be taking out the mail room that's right there and making a stairwell there. So I don't know how that's going to affect things exactly. This is the current like meeting spot. That might even have to change. We might have to, so I'll update as I know, but for right now, it still exists. So it could be very different. Also, I noticed we've been closing the door because of construction noise into this area. And even during the day, it's locked and you have to use your key card on a pad next to the door. So again, the door to get in is going to be key card access at night. Then once you're through the double doors and go into the offices, that door, if it's closed, you'll have to scan to the right your card, and then that door should unlock. It'll make a click noise, and then you can open that door, just so you know about that.
Brandy, she might be smiling at you and could answer questions if you need them. But you would likely meet the person you're tutoring here in the lobby somewhere, depending on the time and the day. It could be crowded in here, who knows. This tutorial room, that sign will probably be gone by the time the semester starts, is my guess, will be a mail room. So there's no tutoring to be done in there. The study hall is right here behind Brandy's desk. It is, again, primarily a place to study quietly. Maybe tutoring isn't the best thing, but there is space here, right? So people are usually doing printing here in this room off the computers or else studying quietly. So not the best place, but it could be an option depending on the time of day. Then some other options are down the hallway. Hey, there's Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
Say hi to the tutors.
Hello.
There's my office if you're ever looking for me. At night, this could be a viable option if the door is open or unlocked. The media room has the table there. You can sit and tutor if the media guys aren't in there, want quiet. This is a prime spot, conference room. At night, usually not much going on in here except tutoring. There's a whiteboard with some oh my gosh, there's markers. That's great. So that's the spot. There are some soft seats back here in the back, but often at night this door is locked. If you could get in there, there's an option. And then upstairs, again, I'm moving quickly from place to place if I can. Upstairs is a kitchen area. Good spot to tutor, also a good spot to eat lunch like right now. And another conference room with a window and screen you might be able to jump into, and a whiteboard. So those are good spots within the main area. We're going to head all the way downstairs and check out bigger spaces. Move some more construction there. So this fall of 22, we are back in person. If you'd like to wear a mask, again, just like email you have gotten from the university, you are mask optional. As we talked about, those of you who were here last year, Zoom is an option. So if you are not feeling well, if you have COVID, if the person you work with has COVID, just isn't feeling well, but can do the appointment on Zoom, that's an option. But they will be scheduled as in-person meetings. As we head downstairs, some new look here. They're putting in some walls and doors to drill through those walls and make some new video rooms, which would be cool. So we'll be loud in places down here, as you can hear. We're heading down to classroom as well as restaurant area that are options for tutoring space. So you're going down this long blue hallway, past the locker rooms. Student athletes are down in this area a lot for training, the training room as well as weight room. There goes one now. She's embarrassed that she's on screen. Here's the weight room. There's the arena concert. There's the weight room, training room, bit of a hike, but I made it quick, right? So our two options down here are bigger spaces that you may find yourself wanting to go to / needing to go to. So first is the classroom. Classroom is multi-purpose. So you see there's some food stations over there for different teams in the summer here getting meals, but school year, this could be staging area. It could be extra space for VIPs. There could be a little event in here. It could be where the refs dress for some reason if there's construction. There is a whiteboard. Again, good use of that. A few markers there. So a good place to tutor, but might not always be available for tutoring. Then we have Lorenzini's across the hall, restaurant by day, oftentimes study hall tutoring space by night. So plenty of space. There could be people in here studying. There could be other people being tutored. So if you go around the corner there's some high tops just like this. So you could have people in here studying and also be able to get tutored and talk in a corner, not too loud, but talk in a corner and be in good shape. So just wanted to mainly get you guys oriented to the building itself because so many of you are new and let you see where to go and what to do and how to get there. So we will continue our conversation and I'll answer any questions you might have based on what we just did.
Okay, I had a couple of thoughts there. I'll let you guys ask questions as needed, but a note that I didn't think of to say is that our freshmen primarily have required study hall times and especially in the fall. So they're in here a lot and taking up a lot of space. So all those locations I showed you may be full of people studying, not necessarily being tutored. So that's why Lorenzini's and the classroom downstairs are valuable because there's more space there. Even if people are in there studying, you should be able to find a spot to tutor down there. And as I said, depending on construction and things, the meeting spot might actually change and we might just wind up pushing things downstairs for the most part. We'll see how that goes. But it's again to be determined. Any questions about the location and things like that? The other note I had that I didn't think of is that there is a study hall monitor in the study hall typically, but sometimes depending on what we're doing with COVID and construction, that person could be down in Lorenzini's for a login or something. So there should be somebody sort of monitoring those spaces to make them quiet. Like you might want to note who the monitor is on the night you're usually here, say hi to them, connect with them. And, if you're having an issue of some kind, they can help support you probably. So I don't know what that issue could be. Again, noise, I can't find a spot. They might be able to help. But if it becomes an issue, if location and space become issues, please let me know. And, I apologize in advance if construction does something I don't know about. If Lorenzini's is booked for something and that's the only place you could get into because of the crowding. So, off of this area, like in the BSC or in some of the other nearby classroom areas, like those would be options if this, for whatever reason on Tuesday nights, it's just really bad and too crowded and you want to find another spot, that's fine. You might just let me know, like we're not going to meet there. For your benefit as the tutor, we're typically trying to book back-to-back appointments. So if you've got somebody at 6 and you can't find a spot and you leave the building, your person that's showing up here at 7, you're going to have to come back and find them or text them. And it's like communication with each of the people you work with will be key as well. Hopefully getting their cell phone number in the first appointment or two is probably a good idea just to be able to communicate issues as they might arise. Again, any questions? I'll pause for a second. All right, I'm going to stop that share. And I will share the tutor handbook that I attached to the email I sent out I'm not going to spend much time on it because I cover it in the orientation interview that I do. But I just want to note, not much has changed. The dates in the back changed, but the handbook, the rules around NCAA are similar. Don't cheat, don't plagiarize. The overt, obvious rule of academic integrity. Don't even consider, be super careful. If they're doing a take-home test, like ask that question, is this something you get points for? So that's a big part of your job. The gambling rule that we talked about at length is still the same. You cannot gamble on NCAA sanctioned sports at any level while you're working for us. So you can't put $5 on a March Madness pool. You can't put $100 on the Billikens to win. Like both of those are equally bad in the NCAA's eyes. And then the extra benefit rule, if you remember that, that's still in place. We're not allowed to provide any money, any room, food, transportation, any of those things to the students. It's up to them, or it's up to you to just tutor them. All of those things that are kind of odd, you probably wouldn't do those things, but again, loaning them $1 for the vending machine is technically against the extra benefits rule. So know that that's still an issue. I'll more reference this guide when the thing I probably skip over the most is some of those situations and a little more how to tutor, I would say. So I'll come back to that in a minute. I do want to then jump into probably the second most important thing is the scheduling part. So let me pull up EAB Navigate. I'll share my screen again. So if you haven't been into your MySLU apps recently, things look a little different. They've adopted the OCTA. I think that's how you say it. I don't know what OCTA is exactly, but for your own, safety, you got to log in 14 times. You know how it is at SLU. But it's got a different look to it as well. So you got to find EAB Navigate and make sure, and everyone should have both a staff and a student icon. So prior to this, it was just one EAB, and then you would switch between staff and student. So I believe you will click on staff to work on your tutoring, like to be a tutor. If you have any trouble with that, let me know right away. I'll try to solve that problem or give new advice, but I believe it's as simple as clicking on staff. I'm going to impersonate one of you guys, somebody who's not on here actually, but it'll take me a second to get there. So kind of ignore this part as I'm finding Cam. And impersonating her. You can't do that. Ignore. Pay no attention. And it's interesting to me that it looks the same. So it says student home. Maybe that's just because it's me going in. So I don't know that you'll need to do this staff home thing. If you go to EAB Navigate staff, it might just bring you to your staff page. We'll see. If it doesn't, all you'll need to do is click on that arrow up there. So again, newcomers know that I hope that's not an issue. That you've got this arrow once you're in the system. So until you've done all your HR stuff, so anybody that's new, you won't have the ability to do this. But once I know that you've been hired and finalized by HR, you'll be able to, I'll put you into EAB as a tutor, and then you'll be able to do this. So you don't really have any assigned students. So I think it's just spinning there. Nothing's going to happen. But what you're going to do before classes begin. So ideally, you would have your availability for the semester in by the 26th, so next Friday. I understand that you may not know your entire schedule and put it all in by then, but we could start booking some tutoring that next week starting on August 29th. Again, if you're new, you may not even be hired by then. So what I did today is I hired you in Workday, and then that should trigger Workday and HR sending you an email about onboarding and instructions. Ideally, you'll have completed that process, including taking your IDs over to the Wool Center. by Monday, August 29th, so that you could work that day or any day after that. Okay. So it's not a lot of time, but it's almost 2 weeks. Ideally, again, you're arriving on campus in the next few days. You're bringing the IDs with you, and you've got all next week to get over their schedule. So the trick, I think, is scheduling with them and making sure you're getting the email in time. So if you haven't gotten an email at all, or you're looking and you don't see one by, I'd say, next Tuesday, the 23rd, maybe let me know, so that you can hopefully schedule with them by the end of that week. So by that Monday, you're actually in the system and good to go. So once all that HR stuff's done, you'd come to this My Availability. You can see Cameron had previous availability in there that's not active anymore from the spring. So she could do two things. She could, if you're a returner, you could go in, click that old availability, and edit it. Actually, sorry, you can go here and edit it. You don't even need to click. You'd edit here. I'm going to show you though, if there was nothing there. So if you're brand new, there's nothing there, or you just want to create new blocks of time. If everything's changed, if the classes are, you're adding classes, might be a good idea to just start fresh. So if you add time, you can then pick the day or multiple days. You could do, okay, well, Tuesday and Thursday are very similar for me, so I'll do both of those days. As I've said in those interviews, afternoons, evenings are the best time. Whatever works for you, I suppose, but generally the athletes have time between like 4 and 10 p.m. in the evenings. If you have daytime hours, you've got no class on Tuesday, Thursday morning, go ahead and put those in. But it's not as likely you'll get booked, and it's not as likely you'd get like multiple appointments at those times. So again, if it gives you more opportunity, that's great. I suggest putting them in, but you know, if you had time from 4 to 10, now that's a long range. I wouldn't expect everybody to have from 4 to 10. But know that even if you put in that long range, Heather and I will book 2 hours in that range, hopefully back to back. But if we were going to book a third hour, we would ask you and see if it was okay. So generally we're trying to put in 2 hours on one day, 2 hours on another day, 2 hours on another day. So if you said to me, I'll show you how you can let us know how many hours in a week you'd like to work. If you're like, I could work 10 hours. Well, to get to 10 hours, you might need to do 3 on one day, right? So if I see that, I'm like, oh, they're willing to work 10, I might put in that third hour on a day when you've already got some 2s to get to that amount. So don't think I'm going to book 6 hours in a row. I definitely wouldn't do that, but it's nice to have that wide range. So if I book something at 5, then I could also book something at 6. And then I can go to another day after that. How long is this available active? So you could do forever a range of dates, but you probably just want to pick the current term. So fall 2022. And then I say, click this, add this availability to my personal availability link. I'll explain why in a second. Which type of availability? It's appointments always. And again, there's a lot of things to click and remember here. Remember, you can go back and watch this video and kind of go do this along with me when you have the time. So we're always going to put in person. I mentioned in the video that Zoom is an option, but it's an alternative, right? So it's scheduled as in person. Typically we're booking once a week appointment where you're going to meet the same time, same place, same subject each time. And again, along the way, if one of those Tuesdays somebody's sick, you can communicate and then make it a virtual, make it a Zoom appointment. So you've got your in-person is the only option, so that they're not booking a virtual option, or we're not booking a virtual option, but it's something you could do. And then you're always going to choose student athlete academic support, not tutoring and writing services. Location then is athletic department lobby tutoring. Again, I hope that doesn't change, but it could. And then the service is the only option, course-based tutoring. So those care unit, location, services, they all have to be right. So when I look for you, I have to put those things in. And if you don't have them correct, I won't see you. So you might have put your time in, but I need to make sure those 3 things are right. Actually, 4 things probably are right. Then you're going to find all the courses that you are willing to tutor. So you can start typing, a word that's in the title of the course, or the 4-letter prefix of the title of the course number. So if you're in an econ major, you could do Econ 1900, and then macroeconomics. Oh, I just realized for some reason that says Econ 1910 Introduction to Microeconomics. That's new to me. I don't know what that is. It's weird to me. But there's also a Econ 3140, which is what most business majors would take. So this is, I'm glad we stumbled on this. With the new core, there are probably a lot of numbers that are different. I know for a fact, like history 2600 is now 1600. A lot of things have changed. So you probably want to try to type in, like you might pull up your own transcript and then type in the name of the class and then look to see what number is now attached to it. It's probably the same, but there actually are a lot of changes. So I'm going to just, if I were Cameron, I'd put in both that 1910, I don't know what that is, and the 3140 in case somebody's registered in that class. And then as a business person, again, this is just an example, she might also, again, be able to do those accounting classes, like that financial accounting. Again, maybe she's a history minor. So I'm going to type history and I'm going to go ahead and type the whole word history and see what happens. And I can see that there's these HISTs. And again, knowing you probably took history, world history, because that was what was required of us prior to this year. Now everybody has to take US history. So 1600 is a class that a lot of people are going to be taking. So if you were a history minor, history major, I'd appreciate if you felt like, okay, I could probably help with that class, even though none of you have taken it before, unless, again, you probably needed US history if you're a history minor or major. You want to make sure you're choosing that class that has a new number as well. Okay, so you're going to have a bunch of classes because you're all smart and took a bunch of classes you did really good in, and things you feel comfortable doing. So I don't want to force you into a class you don't like. You took a class, got an A, but boy, it was rough. You didn't like it. You don't want to tutor it. That's okay. If I notice like, hey, that survey account class that everybody struggles with, you took it and you got an A. Do you think you could try? Like, I might ask for that if you didn't put it in, but you know, trying to put in as much as you're comfortable tutoring is very helpful to us to at least know you've taken the class. Here you're going to put in your URL. So you would go back to your Zoom and you'd find into your meetings personal room. You can copy this link and then go back into AB Navigate and dump it in there. And then that way the person would have the Zoom link if it was necessary, right? If you made that arrangement. So here in the special instructions, you're going to say all meetings are in person unless arranged. I guess otherwise, you might have better wording than me. And you could also probably just paste your Zoom link in here as well. Max number of students per appointment, leave it as a 1. We want to make sure it looks like you're booked, like when you're booked. We don't want to have, if you made it a 2 or 3, it would still kind of show you as green on our side. And we want to make sure that you're booked and we're not double booking you on accident. So I've said in meetings as well, you have the ability to work with more than one person, but it would be something we would add to. We can manually add someone. We wouldn't want to, if you leave that as a different number, it would affect our scheduling. So we wouldn't want to schedule you with 2 people on accident. If you only put a 1 there, we would be able to add as needed. So I'd hit save, but I'm not going to. I'll hit cancel so I don't mess up Cam's stuff. And again, if you are a returner and your life is similar and you just tweak some things, you can choose there and copy that time. And then you would just go and change this term to the current term, fall 22. Everything else basically stays the same. She's probably going to want to go in and add some of the new classes, some of the, the classes she took last year, as well as the classes that have changed numbers. Maybe you might want to double check that and not trust that, microeconomics is still the same number. You want to make sure that you're checking those. So, in a lot of ways, as I suggest that, I think it's probably smart if you're a returner to just go ahead and redo your classes this one time and then copy from there. So again, the same thing would be true of somebody who just created one block of time. You would then copy that time instead of typing all the classes in again. You would just copy it like this, change the days and times up top, and then everything else would be the same, and save that. And you'd have a new block of time without having to find all the classes again. So again, to review, my suggestion is start with a fresh block, add time, whoever you are. Then once it's built, you're going to go in and copy that time to create new days and times for your availability. Here's that personal availability link. So if you were dealing with someone that you see regularly, and on a given week, you're usually meeting on Tuesdays at 6, right? And in the meeting before, right, the Tuesday before, they say, oh, I can't make it next Tuesday because we have a game. Could I meet you next week some other time? You could do a back and forth and text and check schedules and all that stuff, right? And figure it out yourselves. That's fine. But you have the ability to copy and send this link to them, and then they would click on it and then be able to book with you in what time shows is available. So, you can make that appointment. You don't have to do so much back and forth. So that's the advantage of having that availability link. And then scheduling target hours. So here's where you're going to put, I think, an even number, because we're trying to do those 2 appointments back to back if possible. 4, 6, 8 is good. 2 is good, but not great. Again, I know Cameron, she's an athlete, so she's probably only going to do a couple hours, if any. I hope she does too. Maybe 4. But I doubt she'd do any more than 4. That would probably be way too much because she's so busy. So if you are using this job as a big time money maker, I know no one is, you might put in a 10 or a 12. I've seen people put in a 20. I'll work 20 hours. And that's sort of our max, because then you start to get into full-time status. So you got to stay under 20. But if you put in 20, I'll try to book it. It's just not likely. You're probably going to be an 8 to 10 on the high end. Again, that's based on how much availability you have and the classes that you're able to tutor. So how much need there is for those classes. So again, if you're super specialized and I hired you to be some biochemistry expert, that's awesome. But you might not work a lot in that high level field. But if you are, just good at biology and chemistry, you could probably work a ton by doing all those intro bio and chem classes, because so many freshmen come in and struggle right away. So depends on how much, you have available and how much you want to work. Any questions about EAB entering availability? I know that was a lot. I don't have a good way of showing you things because there aren't appointments in the system, but this is where you would do your reporting. So after an appointment, you want to go in and do an appointment summary. So normally there would be an appointment here. Let me actually see. I'd like to go back in and try to show you something from the spring if I can. While I'm doing that, any questions? Anybody just want to say you're doing a great job, Roy? So I have some information. No? Okay.
Fabulous job.
Oh, yes. I needed some feedback. Thank you. I thought I was just talking to the wall. Let me see if I can change terms. Yes. I don't know if it's going to do it for the whole thing though. You know what? I'm not going to waste time clicking around. So in the appointment summary, in that area I was in, there'll be a list of of appointments, and you just click in that box like I was doing on the side, and then hit the actions tab, and it'll give you the option to enter your appointment summary. Most of the time that is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to enter, just a quick, we covered chapter 3 and there's a test on Friday. If there's more going on than that, we'd like to know about it. So definitely leave a note about any troubles or concerns. But make sure you're doing those appointments for those appointment summaries for every appointment you do. We want to check those each week. We want to talk to the student about their progress. So it's important that we see those. I'll be reinforcing that throughout the semester, but right off the bat, I'm just hoping everybody can consider that part of their time. So hopefully at the end of the appointment, you do that, you put in the appointment summary in EAB, and then also enter your time in Workday. Just you can hop on your laptop or on a computer and do those things. The time doesn't have to be entered right at that time, but that's what HR and I like to have happen. So I can approve it right away and we know you're going to get paid for that time, rather than waiting until the time is due every other Monday, as is in the handbook. There's all those dates, so you can mark those dates, but Workday will also send you a reminder like, hey, your time's due. If you don't work, which again will be the case for a while here, until people start needing help, you might get that email and you can just not put any time in. You don't have to go in and put a 0. You just don't do anything unless you do work. Here's where I may ask Carly, because she's been helpful so far. Are you on a computer you could access your Workday, Carly?
I can try.
Okay, I'll let you do that. And then I think I need to I'll stop my share and then allow you to share if I can. So you should be able to share if you get there. If you have any trouble, just let me know. We'll figure something out. I'll just pull it up. I just don't see it the same way you guys do. So it helps if you can do it. All right, that looks good.
Okay.
Okay, so if you worked this week, for instance, so Workday is a tool in my slew that if you have not been hired yet, you would not be able to see. It wouldn't be there. EAB staff is always there, even if you're not a staff member yet. But until you're hired, you don't have Workday. So Carly's going to go in and try to remember what to do. And things probably look a little different. So she's doing it. So she's entering time for this week. So she's in, and you just clicked. Oh yeah, you can do that. Just type in the times. At 6:30, awesome, you're out. Ooh, and if you have another job, that's awesome. Do you have 2 jobs, Carly, or 3? 2. Make sure you're choosing the right job. I've had some people who put in 10 hours over the summer and I'm like, there's no tutoring going on. What do you do? How'd you work 10 hours? I kind of wasn't really questioning them. And then comment, what have you done for comments, Carly? Nice, that's good. I like it. Good example. I tutored Joe in biology, right? That helps me when it comes time to approve payroll as well. So I can see it here and not have to go into AB Navigate. So that's great. I want to note here if you can just stay on there, Carly. What Carly did here from 4:30 to 6:30 is her 4:30 person was a no-show. They were scheduled from 4:30 to 5:30 and they didn't show up. So in here, you deserve, in my mind, you came here, you sat here, waited for him for about 15 minutes. You deserve the time you were scheduled for, especially because you had a 5:30 appointment, right? So you sat here that whole time anyway. So if you're scheduled for the appointment and they no show you, put in the whole time. Another example would be if they showed up at 4:30 and then you only went to like 5 or 5:15, same thing, go ahead and put in the hour that you were booked for. You were there and willing to work that hour, so you deserve that pay. The whole no show, like you didn't work, I don't know that HR feels that way about it. So make sure you're just, yeah, if you put it in there, you worked it, right? Based on what I'm telling you now. 5:30 appointment then was on time, and they actually wanted a little bit more time. They took more than the hour. So Carly went over by 5 or 10 minutes to 6:35, 6:40. So what you'll do is then round up by 15 minutes. So she's going to put in 6:45 since it went extra. So if she was a champ, worked extra time, you deserve to get paid for that. And it's just in those extra 15-minute increments. So she would hit okay there. We'll go ahead and hit cancel since you didn't actually work, Carly. Thank you for helping. So we'll discard that. And then you would do that each appointment you work. Again, ideally, you'd be doing it on Tuesday, August 16th, as soon as you got done with your appointment. If you forget, if you're in a hurry, it's okay. You can do it later. But the forgetting is the problem. We don't want payroll to run on that following Monday and then you not get paid and be like, oh no, I forgot. Again, you forget, it's okay. And what'll happen is payroll has to run. So once like Monday at 5 p.m. rolls around, you can't enter time for the previous pay period for 48 hours. So I think until Wednesday at like 5, you wouldn't be able to add it in. But after Wednesday at 5, you can go and put that time back in. So sometimes people contact me on Monday or Tuesday, more likely, and say, Roy, I forgot to put my time in. I'm so sorry. Can I put it in? And my answer is yes, but you can't put it in now. You got to wait till the payroll runs and then you put it in. And what'll happen is you'll put it in for that, put it in for the day you worked. You're not pretending you did a different day. You'll just go back and put in the previous time period. And then you won't get paid until the next time period. It's just a delayed payment by the 2 weeks, basically. So avoid that by putting in your time after each appointment, and that'll help you. Okay. Thank you, Carly. If you can stop share, I suppose. Do any returners? I see Allie, I see Ben, I see Carly. Any returners have any questions, or not even questions, but like experiences or advice with either EAB Navigate or Workday that I didn't cover, something that you think is important because you're actually doing it? All right, it must be easy. I will note though, with the time part of it, I would love to figure out how to bring up an appointment summary. Let me share one more time. I'm just over my 45-minute hopes, so we're almost done, I promise. I'll just say it. I won't need to show it for time's sake. On Workday, you're putting in the time that, whether you worked during a no-show or not, right? 4:30 to 6:45. On your appointment summary in EAB Navigate, that's where you tell me no-show. So you can, when you go to put in the appointment summary, there are two options, appointment summary or no-show. And you can do no-show and it'll look just like appointment summary, but then I'll know that it was a no-show and you'll put a note like, I waited 15 minutes and I never got a call, right? If it's short, if it's only, 40 minutes, you would put that in there. So we knew it was short. And if it's always short, we might rethink things. We might decide, well, maybe let's go every other week, or let's make them go an hour, try to get them to keep working on that paper or on that homework versus them saying, oh, I'm done, let's go. So it just depends on the student, depends on the situation. And we'd like some detail about that. Like, why did it only last 35 minutes? Do you feel like they could have stayed more? We want to know that and be able to talk to them about it if needed. You're not telling anybody, but it just helps us help them. So the last thing then, and again, I think it's probably the important thing of this meeting is the training part, where I hope my returners have some input. Are you guys seeing my handbook here? Yes, good. So in the handbook, it's got these bullet points like before tutoring, what you might do while tutoring. So the process itself is, I think, pretty straightforward, but I do know we've gotten some feedback at times. I think 90% of the time, the feedback is great and people really love what you guys do. But there's probably, again, admittedly on both sides, times where you took the class 2 years ago with a different instructor and it's very different. And you're struggling to help them because it's not the same material. It's different than what you learned. And that's okay. It's part of the process, I think. You might do a little research yourself, pull up some search for something on Google that helps them. But if you feel like, again, it's a struggle in some way, you can let us know. And it's not like you're, we want them to get the best help, and we want you to feel helpful, and get paid and make money and all the things you want a job for, right? So finding that balance of I can do this even though it's not something I've done in a while, or it's a different instructor. Like, if you feel good about it, stick with it. If it takes a week or two to be like, oh yeah, I forgot all about this, here, let me see what I can do to help. Can I see your book? Like, that stuff's okay in our mind. Sometimes in the student's mind, they're like, this person doesn't know what they're doing, right? So don't feel pressure to know everything, but know that if you're struggling, we want to help them get the best help they can get. So I think that's a part of the process. I'll note here that, again, I showed you on the video where to go, but beforehand you would get an email from EAB telling you the name of the person in the class and the time. The location's always the lobby area here, and then you go find a spot. There's not a lot of prep beforehand, other than maybe refreshing your memory on the subject if you need to. I doubt you've got old books or old notes, but who knows, maybe it's worth finding something. But showing up and getting to know them, figuring out where they're at in the class, trying to remember that stuff yourself, finding out what type of student they are. Are they working really hard and doing a good job with being a college student and they just can't do the material? Or are they struggling with being a college student? Are they struggling with time management, organization, note taking, a lot of those basic skills that you're probably really good at naturally, or you learned them in high school? You might find a freshman or two or a transfer or two that's what they really need help with. So, figuring that out in the first session or two is a big part of it. And then content wise, again, do your best to recall what you can. And then if you are an expert and you know your stuff, that's great. I appreciate that. And I think that's, again, 90% of the time you guys are very good at what you do. And I appreciate that. So you'll be very helpful, and they usually give us a lot of positive feedback. After tutoring, then we've covered kind of in depth there, two things: appointment summary in EAB Navigate, and enter your time and work day based on how I described it. Any returners or even new folks with questions, like anybody got anything at this point about the tutoring itself? I hope you guys are a lot more talkative in your tutoring appointments. All right, so this page of the handbook is good as well, applying the techniques. So I think there's a variety of strategies here where the student is got a different learning style, right? They might not be able to memorize that list the same way you can. So they might need a visual or a graph or a chart. And so finding those resources or those reference materials, either in the book or online, that's fine. I think that can help them understand things better. So maybe figuring that kind of stuff out. Getting them active. If it's 8 o'clock at night and they're tired from their long day, maybe you get them up doing a formula on the whiteboard or writing a sentence on the whiteboard or whatever it might be. Sometimes staring at that computer screen is difficult. So, get them active and thinking a little bit more than yes or no type questions you might be asking. And I think a good strategy too is to have them, it talks about summarizing here, like having them summarize what you guys have gone over what they need to do for the next week, like asking them what they need to do and what to be done. Sometimes we feel, I think, in the authority role that we're supposed to be telling them what to do and how to do it. Where in reality, it's probably the best learning is done when they provide the answer or they think it through and they make mistakes. That's actually good, because then they'll remember making the mistake and be able to remember the right way to do it. So I think those are important strategies in any appointment that you might do. Several pages of situations and strategies. Again, these are things that could come up. You might want to reference this book that I've sent again in the email. But some of them might be worth touching on in this type of training. I always talk about this student athlete who's a little bit shy or doesn't want to talk much, and you feel like you're pulling teeth to get anything out of them. Again, get to know them a little bit better, talk to them about where they're from and the sport they play. That's going to definitely be things they want to talk about. But then once you get in the material, trying to get them to offer up more than just yes and no and again, things that we touched on in terms of academic integrity, like making sure you're not doing work for them, even being cautious of doing work with them in some ways. We want to ask those questions like, is this graded? Are you turning this in for points? Is this a take-home test? Those sorts of things are going to help you not cause those types of problems. So make sure you're avoiding that. And then again, in those situations where they say, yeah, this is what I have to do, they need to attempt it. And then you might be able to say, I reviewed this one. There's something wrong here. Let's look at a similar problem. Or, hey, this sentence is a run-on sentence. So let's restructure this. Let's break down a different sentence. Okay, now you adjust your sentence. So that's the type of thing you have to take a little extra time on. As we said, the student thinks you can work academic miracles. I don't think that's really the issue. I think it's more likely, like I said, like you're not quite living up to their expectation potentially. That's okay. They're obviously struggling in the class and they might give that impression and feel that way when a lot of that struggle is on them and not on you. So you're going to do your best to help them and educate them and use your own experience, but sometimes there's limitations to that. So don't feel pressure. Don't feel like you've let anyone down if you're struggling to help someone. And let us know. Let me and Heather know what's going on. If you're worried about anybody academically, if you're worried about them personally, if they've opened up to you in some way during a meeting or they just act different all of a sudden, maybe let me and Heather know you're concerned and we'll investigate. We won't call you out or anything. We'll make sure we look into it and find out if they're doing okay. All right, I think I've hit a lot of that stuff in the past. As I said, the last page of this has all the pay dates. So it's got the day you would get paid and the day you would enter your time. So as you can see, the next one coming up on the 22nd, no one should work before then, but we might get some people working prior to this next payroll. And that's due early because of the holiday. So September 2nd is an odd day to have time due on the Friday. When that happens and you're entering your time, it's not likely for this scenario. But if you, for some reason, were working on the Saturday or Sunday, that's part of the time period, right? See how September 3rd is one of the payroll dates? You would guess, like you would enter the time that you're scheduled for. So if I scheduled you for a recurring Sunday appointment on September 3rd is Saturday. So if I scheduled you for the Saturday the 3rd and you hadn't worked it yet, but you had to submit time on the 2nd, you would put the 3rd in there because it's part of this payroll, and then it would get processed. And if it didn't happen or something, like we'll worry about that later, but you anticipate doing that work in this situation. That's rare that happens. Usually it's the Monday after everything's done. But if it's ever an early one, which again, there's only a couple of those, here's a Tuesday for Christmas time, nobody's going to work on December 21st or 2nd. That's just not going to happen. So it's maybe only on this next pay period for a while where that would be an issue. Okay, I'm at time, overtime. I was shooting for 45 minutes and it went an hour. Do you guys have any tips from our pros, from our returners? Anything with like Zoom? How much did Zoom come into play at all for any of you guys last year? Or was it pretty much all in person? Like I'll call out Ben. Ben, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you wind up doing any Zooms or was it all in person?
No, mine was all in person, and so
Okay.
that didn't really come up. But yeah,
Okay.
I will say one tip I have. I don't know if this came up with the Workday, but there is a Workday app, and that's
Oh,
always
yes.
kind of nice because it helps to just let me do it immediately after and not forget about logging my hours. So
Awesome. See, talking helps. Thank you, Ben. That is awesome. Yes, I use the app sometimes when I need to do payroll from home. And yeah, it is convenient and you can definitely do it quickly. That's great. Great tip. Allie Faber, you've been doing this a long time. I know no one's done
Yeah.
this since since last spring, so it's out of your mind. But do you have any tips or anything?
One thing that I've really noticed is like keeping up with the sports that your athlete kind of plays is a big thing for them and it means a lot to them. And then also like knowing when they need a break and not being afraid to take one is big as well.
That's awesome advice too. Again, with me not actually doing the appointments, it's great to hear from you guys. So that break or breaks in the middle of, feel free to do that, of course. Like if you're just sitting there for an hour because you feel like you're supposed to be sitting there for an hour, that's not helping anybody. Like get up, take a break, get some air, get some water, come back in 10 minutes. That is totally fine and totally part of the process. That's great. Thank you. Who else? Carly, I know you've been my all-star so far. You got any advice for the newbies? It's okay.
I feel like they covered it pretty well, but I definitely like there were a couple times where I did a Zoom appointment and it was usually because I was on the road. So that kind of also worked out well.
Great. Yeah. And that again, a variety of reasons for those Zoom potential. I think, not really currently the men's basketball team is in Europe, but their classes are done. So nobody's doing any Zooms, but they travel a lot and they probably need the help the most. So if they could Zoom, that's something that would help, right? So it's a possibility on both ends, right? If you can't do it, if you can't get off, off of the schedule or something, that's fine. I'll say too, not necessarily a Zoom, but like if somebody's just not feeling good, maybe it's not COVID, they're not feeling good on your scheduled day, it's always okay to switch days and move things around. You might let us know, me or Heather know that it's changing because for some reason they might, we might need to know they are going to do the appointment, right? If on a Tuesday, it's like, why didn't you go to tutoring? Like, we don't want them to get in trouble. But if you're communicating and changing things, that's fine. So that it can work best for them. And their schedules are varied, right? They're going to have a game or practice time will change or something. And so in some ways that, you can rearrange if they're communicating. I apologize again in advance if they don't communicate. So there are times where they have the game and I think in their mind, they're like, oh, Heather or Roy will tell my tutor. That's not really it. They need to let you know what's going on. So it's probably a good idea at the end of every appointment as well to ask them, are you good for next week? What is your next, do you have any games next week? What's going on with your team next Tuesday? Are we okay? And they should be able to look at their calendar and most likely know and still be able to attend. So hopefully that, doesn't happen too much. All right, I think I'm done except for real quickly to any newcomers. So if you're a returner and you're good to go, you're fine. You can jump off, but any returners that want to quickly know about the HR process, I think I sent enough information in my email, but what has to happen now is I put you in Workday and then HR has to do their thing. And I don't know how long it takes them to do their thing. And this time of year, it probably takes them a little while to do their thing, unfortunately. So it could be a day or two or three, I hate to say, before you get an email from them telling you, we'd like to schedule you for an appointment. Obviously, some of you may not be on campus yet. You might be coming the next day or two. Some of you might be here already. So hopefully they're sending that sooner than later. I put in the start date So none of the new people, unless you have another job on campus. So those of you who have another job on campus, was I think Clara had a couple other people. I put your start date as August 24th, Wednesday, August 24th, because I believe once HR gets the fact that I hired you, you're good to go because you're already in the system. So I left about a week there. And the 24th is the first day of classes. No one's going to need tutoring that day, but you should be able to tutor. And I would add you to EAB Navigate on that day. If you have not had a job on campus before and you're starting fresh, I put in the start date as Monday, August 29th. I'm hoping that, again, that's not quite 2 weeks. You either this week or next week, you have all Monday through Friday of next week to get that paperwork done and get your IDs over to the Wool Center. If not, maybe you can do it on the 29th. And again, I'm assuming you won't have problems. It's HR I'm worried about because they might get swamped. And I put in 10 or 12 today, and they may not get to it right away. So ideally, you're getting the email from them tomorrow or Thursday, the 18th, and then you're able to schedule to bring your stuff for sometime in the next week, and then be able to start on the 29th. If you are brand new and doing that process, they should hand you over at HR a confirmation sheet that says you're hired and you're good to go. If you would send me a snapshot, just take a picture with your phone and email it to me, send me that paper that they give you so I can then put you in EAB Navigate, and you can enter your time after that. So again, perfect world, I'd say the 24th or 25th, you've got all that done. You've sent me the snapshot and I've got you in EAB Navigate by Friday, the 26th. And you're ready to work on the 29th. Will there be a lot of work on the 29th? Probably not. I bet we won't really start booking much until September 5th, 6th, 7th, in that range. We will start booking things. Like, I want your availability in the system by the 26th so that we can book things starting the 29th, 30, 31 if need be. So just again, some timelines there. I know I'm saying a lot of dates, but over the next 2 weeks, we need to get you through the HR process, get you in EAB, and then have you available to work once we get to that little bit busier time. Somebody who's gone to a week or so of class and is like, oh boy, I'm in trouble. I need help. I also know, like, our men's basketball team, as I've mentioned, we already know some folks on there that need help, that Heather may want to set up tutoring starting the 29th, 30th in that zone. So, those could happen as well, sooner than later. So I know she's going to be asking me on the 23rd, 24th, like, where are all the tutors? And again, if you can have it by the 26th, that's great. But if you can't, just shoot me an email and say, hey, Roy, you know what? I haven't gone through a Monday or Tuesday yet. Can I wait and put it in on the 31st? Like, that's probably okay. That makes sense, right? You've gone to class yourself on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday. That makes sense. So again, I won't get too worked up until the 30th, but I'd say by the 31st, ideally, everyone would be in the system and we could book things in September. Everybody okay? Makes sense? Any questions individually?
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
have a question. Yeah, because like I'm gonna be on campus later, so for me it's gonna take a while. Like, I'm coming back to campus on September 2nd, and I also need to get the social security thing done too. So I assume that might take a couple days. So
And Gabby, that's all fine for you. You're a little bit of a special circumstance. So as soon as you can get the social security stuff figured out. So if anybody else, again, has issues with IDs and things that delays the process, just let me know. And Gabby, I'm aware of what you need to do and how long that takes.
yeah,
So just let me know when you've got the social security thing done, and then I'll put you in work at that point. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
All right. If nobody else has any questions, I'll stop my recording, but I will stay on if anybody wants to ask questions.